It's nice to see you again. I hope you had enjoyable Christmas days with your family. And for those of you who had to work, I'm very grateful for that. And I hope it will be your turn next Christmas to be off. So today, I want to talk about how to become a doctor, a physician, or a medical practitioner in Switzerland. These terms are all synonym. A bracket remark. The academic title of a doctor is something else than simply finishing university med school. For that, you will have to do some sort of scientific work. For example, a PhD thesis, a case study in an acknowledged medical journal, something like that. Okay, but that's something I could talk about on another episode. Today, I just would like to talk about the basic requirements. So, in Switzerland, you get admitted to university if you have your high school diploma. Okay, and in Switzerland, that's called the Matura. In Germany, the Abitur, in France, the Baccalaureate, and in the UK, I couldn't really find out. In the US, it is depending on what high school you're on, a high school diploma. Okay, so now you have that, you can go to university. In Switzerland, you cannot go to med school automatically because they have an entry exam. That entry exam, I don't know if it's still the way it was when I studied, but back then it was a test that basically tested your ability in memorizing things, in finding the optic differences in pictures, testing your 3D abilities, and your performance under time pressure. What it did not so much do, or not at all actually, it did not test your social skills, at least not in the basic exam. So once you pass that, you got access to med school. Okay, med school in Switzerland, I think, as in most Western countries, goes 12 semesters, meaning 6 years, if you're fast, if you do it all in one thing. And back in my time, the semesters were um, separated in preclinical semesters, the first 2 years, and then in the clinical semesters. Now, the preclinical semesters were basically a lot of anatomy, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, physics, these sort of things. And you would have one chance to repeat a failed exam. That was it. If you failed it another time, you were excluded from med school, not only at the university where you started, but in the whole of Switzerland. In the clinical semesters, you would have three chances for each test. So, still tough, but of course, more doable. In those semesters, of course, you would hear a lot of about internal medicine, surgery, ophthalmology, pediatrics, the entire curriculum. And the fifth year would be a clinical year at hospital. In the clinical year, you had some subjects you had to take, some courses. Mandatory were, I think, 3 months of internal medicine and 3 months of surgery, and the other 6 months you could choose anything you were interested in and anything you would get. So be it radiology, pediatrics, anesthesia, anything. Okay, and then you would return and you would enter the last year of your studies, the 11th semester, and during the 12th semester, you would have the final exam. In my case, that meant 4 months and 17 exams, five multiple choice exams, I think 120 questions in 4 hours, if I recall that correctly, and the rest were oral exams. Okay, So basically, that was it. Today, they changed it a little bit. Today, it's actually a master and bachelor system. If that makes a lot of sense, I have to, it's debatable because I know nobody who does the bachelor degree in medicine and stops there. But if there is somebody out there, actually, I would be very interested in getting to know you. And please leave me a comment because I'd really like to know what you can do with that. If you want to become a physician, then you have to go all the way till the master degree. And I think nowadays, um, you also have to write a master essay at the end. And then once you did all of that, you get your medical diploma and you are allowed to call yourself a doctor, a physician, or a medical practitioner. But again, as I said before, you don't have the academic title of a doctor. If you want the academic title of a doctor, you have to do some sort of scientific work or research. Okay, so it's quite a journey, and you don't see any money during that time at all, with the exception of the practical year. But the money you see seriously would not allow a living in Switzerland or anywhere. Maybe I don't know. No, it's just not realistic. But it's not about that. So that's I guess this is kind of the um, what I can tell you in general, and now I can tell you how I felt when I went to university. Well, it was kind of a culture shock, to be honest, because in school you're kind of used to a schedule. Okay, you have history class and you read chapter A to G, and then you have your tests. And if you stick to that, most of the time things go well. At university, you're one of 200 medical students in the first year. In my case, I knew no one. I knew I was all by myself. I entered the big study hall and saw the professor, this small in front, talking about his things and showing his slides. And that would just go on for the entire day. And sometimes you had scripts and sometimes you didn't. And some were quite usable and some weren't. You didn't know what books to buy. You had no idea, and you didn't know what they would actually ask in the examination. So I was pretty miserable in the beginning. Um, so after 2 to 3 months, I was about to quit and just go and say, no way, that's nothing for me. But the turning point, and that's really important, was for me when I met a few people and we built a study group. That was a real game changer. Okay, suddenly you're not this small person in this big universe. You kind of get to know people, and um, you kind of figure out what books you need, what scripts you need, you what kind of questions will be asked and stuff like that, and you don't feel alone. And it's such an intense time. It really builds relationships and friendships for life. So a lot of things may be really tough, but other things were positive. And so that's my best advice for you today. If you start med school or probably any course at university, find people quick, that you're not alone. Build study groups, learn regularly, and also have fun together in your free time. That really, really helps a lot. Okay.